We live in a culture where other people's opinions can make or break our identity, like it has power to shape our identity. But as believers, we are supposed to be free from this. We are called to live from a place of security, and this is based in Jesus Christ alone and not by other people. I have been reading this book called The Emotionally Healthy Woman, and this is by Geri, and this book is amazing. There's like 8 quits, but we are going to focus on the first one, which is quit being afraid of what other people think. Fear of what other people think can be so paralyzing. It kind of manipulates our actual thinking or what we would actually do in certain situations just because we are afraid of what other people may think. Emphasize on may. Like they're not actually gonna think that and they may or may not, putting their words above Christ. It is something that we all struggle with at some point in our life, whether it may be from our parents, our siblings, our grandparents, our coworkers, friends, and that includes our spouse and boyfriend or girlfriend. What if I told you that this fear doesn't have to control you? Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Now, take a look at the word snare. What is this word? It sounds a little bit sus, right? Snare means trap. It's a trap that will lead to harm. Think about animals being trapped, whether you're trapping them or whatever, they're injured, they're harmed, they feel pain. And people's opinions will put us in a trap. And of course, this will lead us to harm. So really, why are we afraid of what other people think? The simple answer is this: it's usually for approval. And living this way for people's expectations and what they think of you is so stressful. It will lead to burnout, anxiety, depression, and ultimately, the worst one of all, it will give us an unhealthy relationship with ourselves and with God. Can you imagine the freedom we will feel when we break from this trap and live for God alone? The truth is, God's opinion and what He thinks of you matters more than what other people think, because God knows what is truth. He knows what is life, and He knows what is good for you. And other people don't. Even if it is our parents, our grandparents, or whoever we look up to, they have an idea. But it always has to align with God's will. Who knows better than God's will, better than God Himself? I grew up in an environment with expectations. Most of the times, those expectations doesn't align with God. It's hard to break free from that. I am definitely much older now. Like, I know my identity in God, but sometimes there are just those very few times where I am just weak. And then I fall back into that space where, oh, maybe I do gotta care because I don't want to embarrass him. It does feel like a trap. It is a snare and I feel limited. But the good thing is that once you have Jesus Christ and once you know Him, once you know His heart and what He wants for you, it's nothing close to that. It is freedom. It is peace. It is trust in Him. There are so many examples in the Bible where people had to choose between following God or caring about what people think or wanting to meet people's expectations. Apostle Paul says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." Paul understood that the primary focus has to be God, and it affected people in his time. It affects people before that, and it still affects people now. It proves to be true how strong the snare is, how much the devil's manipulation just seeks to destroy. Let's take a look at a few examples of women in the Bible who chose God over people's opinions. The first one is the woman with the issue of blood. It really shows how her reputation is very not looked up upon in that area, because if you have menstruation, okay, that is not clean. So imagine having your period for 12 years. I mean, can you imagine Aunt Flo visiting you for 12 years? No thanks. So this woman had to choose between obeying societal expectations or going to God herself and having faith in herself to focus on Christ alone. She had that much faith to seek after him, to just believe that just by touching the hem of his garment is enough to heal her. She didn't care about the public shame. I mean, she risked it and she still did not care because her sight was on Jesus. But here's the thing, because of her faith and focus and dedication, she was healed. He even said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Just this sentence alone, faith, go in peace, and you are freed, is what we have been literally talking about. The second one is Mary, the mother of Jesus. This is like a no-brainer, as someone who is unmarried and is pregnant and not by her betrothed is shameful, because I mean, who would believe her really, you know? And but good thing is God protected her and sent an angel to tell Joseph about what's going on, but still nobody else really knew as much as them about what the truth is. And even then, you know, they still had to go in faith. And Mary and Joseph had to walk in faith and focus on the Lord despite what people may think, because family shame, I'm sure, is not easy to deal with. The outcome is that Mary said, "I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled." Wow, this, her obedience to God paved the way for the salvation of all mankind. Okay, number three, this story is amazing because Abigail, okay, this girl, she is bold. She is unafraid. If you don't know who Abigail is, she was the wife of Nabal, of some arrogant dude who don't care about nobody but himself. Okay, if you know somebody like that in real life, oof, that's a Nabal. He's wealthy too. So anyway, he insulted David, and David is the one who protects this guy, and he protects his farm. And when David asked to have some provision back, just a little bit, not even that much for him and his men, he denied David. Like, she had to choose between doing the right thing that she knew was God's heart, right? Or follow what her husband was saying. This is where discernment comes in. We are to submit to our husbands, but not when it's above God. God is always first. Abigail acted with her focus in God alone and not what her husband would think or the repercussions of what's going to happen afterward. She went to go to King David. She gifted him food and apologized for her husband. Looking at her decision to do the right thing, wow, it really inspires me and it encourages me to not act in fear. It is so easy to get caught up in what people think or what they might say and the need for approval. But the thing is that we might even avoid speaking up even when we know like what God is telling us to do, because of people we might not even speak it out. This is really hard because this hits hard for me. Because that's how I was before, you know, I was afraid of what people think. But thank goodness God healed me and he gave me the confidence in him and the obedience. This also helped me to pursue his callings despite what people thought. And just choosing Jesus, just that choice alone from a Muslim community was very hard. But I had to follow God over what, being afraid of what people would think. And saying this convicts me, and it might convict you too, but making people opinions above God, it makes me feel like people has become my God, and that is not good. And that is idolatry. That is putting people above God. But that is what it means. I have a few examples of modern day gaining approval from others. The first one is agreeing unwanted commitments. And this can be like work related, this can be a coffee date, a lunch date, whatever. When we know ourselves, we want to have rest because we have been so busy, but because we don't want to hurt others or make them think negative things about us, we just agree. And then at the end of the night, we are just so drained, don't know why we went. And that is just really sad because the only reason why we would ever do that is to not disappoint others. And this is so harmful to us, to ourselves, is because we are resentful, we are tired, we are drained, and that is not good for anybody. The next one is changing our true beliefs around certain people. Sometimes we will suppress or alter our beliefs or not even say anything with whatever social circle that we're at, whether it's family, relatives, workplace. We just don't want people to think weird about us or make us think we are uncool or something. This one's a little bit silly, but it does happen. And it's spending money unnecessarily because we are so big on social media. Whatever we see online is just, oh, we must have that be in trend, or like even buying stuff that's been updated. Like, for example, like an Apple Watch or something. Like your watch is working just fine, but then we need to have the new one because it's the next cool thing, just so you can be like, oh yeah, I got the new one, I got the new iPhone, I got the new camera, I got the new shoes, I got the new whatever. It's just silly. Who are you trying to impress, really? Is it God? And also paying for everyone all the time when we are out to eat somewhere or to do something. We feel the need to just pay for them just so we can seem generous, just so they can be like, oh, you are so nice, and getting like praise and approval from them just from this. You have to keep up with this to keep being praised. Just imagine how broke and in debt you'll be if you keep doing this. There are other things that is more deep and just so difficult, and it's staying in unhealthy relationships. And that can be like, a romantic relationship, but it can also be friendship, like having toxic friendship, having a toxic significant other, and not speaking up and not saying the things that needs to be said or having boundaries. This one's really hard though, but we have to keep Jesus first, because without him, we are just going to be trapped. We're going to feel like we can't live free. And this does lead to depression and sometimes even worse. And this leads to the last one that I kind of want to talk about. It's suppressing our emotional needs. Sometimes when we want approval from others, we will hide our anger, we will hide our disappointment, we will hide our sadness even, just because we don't want to create drama, or we don't want to make people feel bad, or we don't want to burden them. But lying about the truth of your emotion when it really counts, it is really bad for us, because this means that we are holding it in so deeply, and this leads to resentment, and we don't want that. So now that we have talked about all these things, how do we overcome this? How do we quit being afraid of what other people think? Well, number one is we have to acknowledge the fear. Being honest is the first step. No, it's not embarrassing. No, you're not any less than. Being honest means that you have taken the time to be truthful, to be honest with yourself and with God. And we cannot heal from this, we cannot overcome this if we can't even admit it. And we can do this by bringing it up to God Himself. We can bring this fear to Him. Say, Lord, I don't know why I care so much about what other people think. Heal me from this, Lord. I just want to focus on you. I want you to be the center of my life and the first in my life. That whatever people say or think would not matter because I know that you are the one who cares for me deeply. You are the one who knows me. Help me through this, Lord, and heal me. Bring me close to you. Then the next thing is to refocus on God's opinion. And we can only know God's opinion by reading His word on what He says about His daughter, about the person that He has created intricately. This is how much He loves you. And we cannot know our identity if we don't know God and what He says about you. Your worth and identity comes from Him alone. Then the next thing to do is to take small risks, small steps. And it's okay to start with small steps. Speak up when you normally would be silent. Say no when you normally would say yes. Small steps lead to bigger steps. Make your decisions based on conviction rather than approval. And if you have to take small steps again and again for a few weeks, then do it. But ask God to be part of your decision. The last thing is surround yourself with people who are also honest with these things. Surround yourself with people who have overcome this and that are safe for you to be vulnerable with. They will encourage you to live authentically and help you focus on God day after day. Remember, living for others will lead you into feeling very empty and very drained. But living for God, who knows you completely, will bring you great peace, gives you joy, will bring you freedom. And we can trust in that because He is the God who is faithful. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. Sound mind is basically self-control in your thoughts, in what you do, but especially in your thoughts. Because it starts with the thoughts, and fear does not come from God. So when you think about it, when you're afraid of what people think, oh man, this is a manipulation from the enemy. Building our relationship with Jesus is so pivotal because it is a must. This is what makes or break it. Because from this relationship, we are confident in Him. We are bold in His name. We then can stand up in truth and we don't have to be fake. And not only living in truth, but we find rest in Him. When we allow God to be in every part of our lives, His voice becomes so clear. And that is because you have chosen to be close to Him. You have chosen to open up your ears and your mind and your heart to hear Him. Our Father God is enough, and He will always lead us into a place of peace. Geri talks about having joy in our salvation. I love when she says this because Jesus gave Himself up so that we could be free. He has given us salvation. So why do we need to continue living like this? Trapped, snared, when He has given us a free gift of life. I really encourage you to be in prayer, to give these things to God and spend a lot of time with Him and ask Him to reveal any areas in your life where you are holding on to it. Let Him guide you into a deeper sense of freedom. I really do want to hear your voice here. Do you have a hard time with this? If so, leave me a comment down below. And even if you have overcome this, leave a comment down below with your advice and how you have overcome this so that other women like you can know how to walk in this freedom. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.